Well, I've pieced together this video of hitting the cow and the work that went into putting the car back together. And so some of this video has me narrating the work that I'm doing, but a lot of it is just sped up and jumping to major work that I've done. And so fast forward it to the end if you want to see the end result, or watch the whole way through. Thanks for watching it. All right, I'm going to vacuum here in just a second, so I thought I'd do one last little video. You can see all the stuff, most of the stuff in the floor that bounced off of me. There's my mirror. But there's glass in my coffee cup. My thermos got a little dent in it. It was sitting in this seat. It won't fully go up into park. I need to vacuum because of the glass that's in there. Glass back here. Let me go ahead and pull this jacket out. Glass all over everything. In the back. Does not mess around when that stuff breaks. As you can see, all the way down the side, this door, this panel's dented in. That's it. I'm going to start vacuuming and cleaning this thing up a little bit so that I can move it better without getting glass on me. Yep, he is. All right, so we're going to begin the process of taking the fender off, the hood off. Eventually I'll get to this radiator support right here. So when the cow and the car collided, it ducked its head, and fortunately it didn't even hit the fender. I don't even know how it didn't even hit the bumper, but it hit right here, destroyed the headlight, which is here and in the bucket and a lot of other parts. It kind of rolled up here, hit the side rear mirror, which I guess rotated in and hit the glass, shattering and hitting me. Hit the side of the door. You know, bent the door pretty good. Sorry about this. I thought my wife's car was going to be out of the garage and I'd have a little more space, but it is not. So you can see the dents. The door still closes full of glass, but it's creased pretty good. And then it hit the back door. And then you can't see it, there's a small little dent right here in the rear quarter. I'm going to try to pop that out. The back door opens just fine, but I'm going to replace it as well because of this dent. And so I found a car in Joplin, Missouri, that they're checking on the paint code right now, but it looks identical to this one. And all of this, all of these pieces are still good. And so I'm going to get a rear door, front door, fender, and the hood, light, and that radiator support. So, sorry about the background music. It's free, and so that's kind of important on videos. It's anyway, that's beside the point. So I start the process of taking the car apart, and there are hours. I think my total time of disassembly and putting the thing back together, maybe 8 hours total. And I videoed almost every aspect of it, and so it was very helpful at times, you know, taking the door off here, just trying to figure out the clips, you know, when I was underneath the hood. You know, most of it was pretty straightforward, but every once in a while you'd get to something that would be baffling. I mean, I spent a lot of time trying to get you know, big pieces of metal out, or not too big, and there's always a hidden clip or a hidden bolt or something in there. And so I cataloged, I videoed everything. Every time I would pull out a bolt on the full length film, I guess you could call it, you know, I would hold up the bolt, and if there was some kind of marker on it, I would show that. This door was heavy. I am serious. I say that later on in the video when I'm getting ready to put the thing back on, but man, it is heavy. I wish I would have taken the doors off different. I wish there's a pin in there that I could have taken off. That would have been a smart thing to have done. It would have made lining them up maybe a little bit easier in the long run, but I didn't know at this point. I'm just kind of making this up as I go. And so once again, just trying to find, you know, some of them were Torx bit bolts, and others were, you know, 10 millimeter bolts. Some of them, like this one right there, was behind the fender, and you know, I tried to take that. I had to take that off anyway, but I thought maybe I could reach it from behind. But there was sound proofing that was in there, which that was a very nice feature. But it was just a matter of taking things apart, trying to catalog as best as I can. You see me, I was not very happy with this. Is a newer Craftsman 1/4 inch ratchet, and I went through 2 of them that were fairly new. The internal workings just stopped, and so very frustrating. I said somewhere, you're not going to hear it on this since it's at high speed, that I am going to replace my Craftsman and get Snap-on or something. They're just very frustrating. Anyway, that's pulling off trim work at this point. Well, it seemed like there were more clips on this thing. You know, the fender had clips behind it. There were, you know, bolts, like I said, hidden bolts. But it was always felt like a sense of accomplishment when you get something major off. You know, that's why I pulled the doors off first. I didn't necessarily have to pull the back door off right away, but sometimes you just get frustrated and you need to accomplish something. And so yanking the doors off, just it seemed like, okay, making progress. Nothing I could do myself with that back dent. It wasn't super bad, but it was still there. But I just ended up leaving it. I popped it out maybe just a little bit. The lights, I found the replacements. I don't think I mentioned this later on. When I found the replacement lights, one of them had the feature where when you turn the wheel, the light turned. And they both had it, but one of them did not work. I cleaned the lenses up after the video is over with, and so that they didn't look all yellowish. But I got that done.
had extra clips along the way. I think that was the only extra parts that I had. I had a few extra clips that I picked up when I went to the junkyard as well. But for the most part, everything that had to be on was on. I still have a few things that were left that are sitting in a box. I have not touched any dead dragonflies, man. Those dragonflies are everywhere. So just pulled this is the bottom side of the air breather. Dragonflies, plastic, I guess this area that broke, some of these So the hard part about pulling this fender off, it had a lot of pretty tight clips. One thing, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that Volvo seems to be a pretty solid car.
There are some connectors.
Everything lined up perfectly. Even after the wreck, the clips were still in pretty solid shape. There were a lot of different accessories that this car had. Fog lights. There's some kind of fluid to wash the windshield. I mean the lights off. Mine never did seem to work, and you can see right there the leak. I fixed that later on. One of the wires got pinched and I couldn't quite get to it, and I thought I fixed it, but I did not. But I fixed it a little bit later on, and so I was just making sure that I knew where everything hooked up when I got ready to put it back together after getting the new fender cover. It was amazing that it was still in pretty good shape, you know, where that cow hit, that it didn't even impact any of that, really. So I gave up trying to disconnect whatever it was on the reservoir
washer fluid reservoir to the bumper. I just can't get in the back of it, and I made a mess, and I don't know that it's that necessary at this point. So I think what I'm going to do is these pieces will come off. There's some little clips, I believe, right here. I think if I just hold them out just right and tug, these things ought to come off, maybe. Anyway, take those off so I can see what's behind. I don't know that I have to take, I mean, maybe it's all connected. I just can't see. There's still some stuff in there, evidently holding things on. Oh, there's bolts right there, too. Maybe that's it. So I'm gonna try taking those two off, which means there's two over here. Yep. And we'll see what happens. So let me mount you back up here. I'd love to see how this works in the factory. I gotta do something about this blood. It's all right, so I'm gonna try a little bit this morning, real quick. Got my Band-Aid on, took a chunk out of me last night. So I ended up prying a little bit, and this piece, it's got two little hooks on it, and goes down in there and clamps onto something below. The other one, this one was broken. That's why it came off so easily. This wiring harness that attaches somewhere right underneath there on this pillar. So I'm going to disconnect that right here. But you can see this is it. It just attaches onto there somehow for some, right there. So I'll disconnect that. Recording. Maybe you saw that. I don't have any idea. But that's it. It's all off. So obviously nothing on this side. I have not pulled the hood off, and so looking at, the hood does not come down square, but I think it's, I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. We'll take it off later. Radiator is good. No damage there. So when the cow hit, it hit right here. And so just looking at where damage could have been, all of this is straight. This might have a little, I'm just not sure on that. I think that's straight. Nothing in here is bent. Nothing down here is bent. It hit right above the fender, so it did not bend the fender. Did not break the reservoir. Broke this clip. That's as far back. I mean, the air box sat right here. Headlight went through the air box. Nothing broken. Wow. So this is the cable for the hood release. I could see how that might be a problem in the future, maybe. Just trying to make some comparisons. I know it's different, but where that fender over there attaches, this piece comes off. This piece was bent, but I think the part underneath, I think I'm good. All right, so now it is a matter of getting all of the parts and reassembling. So what I will do next time I video some, I will have hopefully straightened up this mess a little bit, since now I'm just waiting for a week and a half where I can go get the parts.
It's all new to me.
If that doesn't come off, don't worry about it. Mine's still on there.
Oh no, he's trying to
No,
figure
I
out how
had
to
to
get
get
the
it
cord
off
off.
to get the core support off.
Okay.
Normally they just unbolt from the top and come right off.
All right,
This
so
one's
yeah,
something.
I can. Been there. So
You bet.
Standard phone going over all the bolts.
yeah, the doors are easy. The clips pop right off, and 4 bolts.
I mean, it looks as simple as can be. Oh yeah, easy.
So here we go. Got all the stuff in there. See how it goes. Leaving Joplin, Missouri. All right, so I'm gonna try to clean up a little bit. I got home last night with, I think, all of the parts. The old hood's on the top of the car. This is the hood from the wrecking yard. They gave me a new, I asked for the front grille part, but they just went ahead and pulled the whole bumper off. But my bumper has more accessories in it, so I will pull the grille part out and replace that probably. Here's the new back door. Old back door is right over there. So I think my plans are I'm going to set this tripod up, and I'm going to go ahead and put the new back door on just to kind of get it up and out of the way. And then I will probably go ahead and mount the hood. I won't tighten it too much, but I'm going to go ahead and put that on. Excuse me, put that on just to get it up and out of the way. I think I'm going to have to work on the washer fluid lines. I think the guy, I don't know if he cut the one on the hood or if he cut the one off of the car. He cut something, and so I just need to work on that as well. But mainly I've got to clear some space so I can actually work. It's just a wreck. There's my headlights. I need to check and see if they match with the other one. I think they should work no matter what. And then there's the new air box that they ended up having as well. So now it's just time to start putting things together. I'm gonna shut this off and grab the tripod that's sitting over there, and then try to get my workspace so that I can get that back door on. Well, at this point in the video, getting this doors on, they line up pretty well, and but they are so stinking heavy. You don't realize it on certain cars just how heavy the door is. I know a lot of that is the construction of the safety features that are within it, and this one definitely has some weight behind the doors. The hood, on the other hand, is extremely light. This is probably not the best technique for getting it put on, but it enabled me to get it up out of the way and not scratched up sitting on the floor in the garage or leaning up against something or just in the way. And so basically I just, I've got one bolt in each side, and I set it on there, and I'll go and fix it up, on the align it and everything. There were some one wiring harness I showed earlier, I believe, that was crimped whenever the hood was kind of pushed over, and it crimped it, and so I had to end up resplicing that. Maybe I'll show that later on, I'm not sure. But I get it all lined up, and it takes me a little bit of work to get the hood and the fenders lined up correctly, where you can't tell that they're not perfect. The guys that do this, auto body guys that do this and do it really well, they are patient. Well, at this point, I am beginning to get things fitted back together, and a lot of the frame and things like that I'd put on, I had not completely tightened up the bolts, and so at this point, having things lined up fairly well, I begin the process of going around the front end, making sure that all of the connections are tight. There were a few places where I found torque specs on bolts, and I tried to torque things as best as I can, but some of the smaller bolts, I just tighten them up pretty tight using the driver, the DeWalt driver that I have, and sometimes I would use a ratchet and make sure that they were fairly tight. Some of these little small pieces where the fender and the bumper line up, I just had to make sure that they lined up correctly, and because like I said, when I was taking it apart, the precision was pretty remarkable, and I wanted that I wanted it to look like it had never been in a wreck, since there was really no damage left on the vehicle, and so having panels line up and everything was pretty important. These little plastic pieces that hold the grill on and things like that, some of them, they were tricky. They had clips, and then they had bolts, and they had to go on just right, and it could be frustrating. I made a video, you know, the whole video was hours long, and so every time I would pull a piece off, I've got a video of how it came off exactly, and every once in a while I'd have to go back and remind myself and take a look at the video and see, but most of the time it was pretty apparent how it would go on in the order. Like right here, I had to take some screws back off because I put them on too soon before I put the clip on. So that's kind of what's going on.
These two bolts in the back.
So at this point, I'm trying to get the air box, and there's some wiring down in there, and just a few things that have to be lined up perfectly, because I think I'm about to test the lights and get the lights sitting in there, and so the air box, all of that, mass airflow sensors on that, I mean, all of that stuff obviously has to be there and has to line up perfectly. But the headlights, you know, they have tabs that go in there in a specific way, and so you know, I've got to get all this stuff fitted on there so that that the process of getting the lights lined up correctly, and then when you drop the hood, it's got to line up based on the lights. And so, you know, there's just a lot of these little bitty things that if I don't get this wire clipped on correctly, or if I don't get that bolt clipped on in the right spot, that then the headlights won't line up exactly right. And so at times, man, I just had to step back and scratch my head a little bit and say, okay, that's what am I missing? What did I not see? Eventually got it lined up pretty well at this point, and so had to go back and do some adjustments from time to time on the fender. You know, it used some specific bolts, and so I had to take a minute and figure out which ones. You know, I'm sure there's a better system than what I did videoing and going back and looking at the video, but got it up there, you know, got it on there, and then start to put on these bottom pieces of trim. It's amazing once you get a piece of trim back on, how it really does enhance the appearance of the vehicle. There was so much dirt and leaves and garbage in there. It was unbelievable, the amount of stuff that collects in places that you don't think it ought to. Well, in this part of the video, I'm trying to get this the driver's side door back installed, and I'm using that bucket from Home Depot and a little bit of other materials to kind of get it to the right height. But let me tell you, that door is heavy. This is a two-person job. Don't recommend doing it by yourself. And but I got it done, got it lined up fairly well. You'll see here in just a little bit. But just getting it all connected and done right was a challenge. There's probably a tool, or maybe it is just two people, one person holding it up, but there's probably some kind of lift that would have worked a whole lot better to get it up at the right angle and everything, and then mounted. What ideally should have happened is I wish I would have taken the hinges off of the other car, the complete hinges, and then it would have been on there perfect, as opposed to taking it apart the way that I did. I think my wife is coming home. That garage door is opening up, and so I'm sure I'll have to adjust my working space or something to that effect. But anyway, got it on there. Ended up getting it fairly lined up eventually. Well, the front end of this thing, getting this bumper guard, whatever, this big hunk of plastic with a lot of accessories on it, this might have been the most frustrating. So when I got the bumper from the junkyard, really all I wanted was the the grill piece. Mine already had a hole in it from hitting a bird or something before I got it, and so I just wanted that piece. They gave me the whole thing, and at one point I thought I was going to get lucky and be able just to swap out the whole thing, but theirs didn't have accessories, and there were far more clips and things that had to go on there correctly, taking it off of the original one and then putting them back on the other one. So I just decided to use the original one, swap out the grill, and get it going that way. It really, it clips on. It wasn't that hard, I suppose, this part of it, getting that lined up, but getting it mounted to the actual car, I think I overall pulled it apart 4 times. I put it on there, think I had it all lined up, and then for whatever reason, one part would not line up, and I'd have to, I don't know, scratch my head. A couple of times I was just like, I'm done for the day, and just finished, and then it came back the next day, and usually I ended up taking it apart, just because these things really do have to line up perfectly. And so it's not just the top that lines up, where it mounts up to the fender or matches up to the fender. There are clips there on both sides, and then underneath there's a skid plate, and it has to line up with the skid plate so that it can bolt up correctly. And there was just a lot. It was very, very frustrating at times, but in the end you'll see it that I got it done, and was glad that I did it. It ended up looking really good, and that's a major part of it, making sure everything lines up. I've seen more cars that have hit curbs or whatever, and their bumpers are just a wreck because they don't ever line up again. And so I wanted to make sure that this one lined up so that I could take it through a car wash without getting the car wash brushes caught up on it or whatever it may be. And so this was pretty important to me to get this thing back on and as close to perfect as I possibly could. So all I have left to do is the very bottom piece, but I thought I'd real quick show. You can't see. Those went on. This one was kind of a pain, but it went on pretty well, seamlessly. Matches up pretty well. Everything on here is pretty straight, and then this side is all on, bolted back up. It went on pretty seamlessly as well. It's just ridiculously awesome. I don't know a better way to phrase it. I still have not found that socket. I'm gonna climb underneath here and look when I bolt that up. Maybe it's sitting on that bottom pan. Well, this is the part, another part that was extremely frustrating. Like I mentioned a minute ago, I couldn't get the bumper has to line up perfect, and there's a skid plate that goes on there, and man, I fought with this thing. I say fought. I did not want to have to wrestle with it. It should have clipped back on and gone on. Like I said, I fought with it a little bit, but eventually I just took it off and came back the next day, and for whatever reason it just lined back up and things screwed in just perfect. The end result was that I did not have to drill any new holes or use zip ties on it. Things lined up correctly, and so that was a refreshing moment, to say the least. I was very thrilled with the way that ended up. All right, well, here is the 99.9% finished product. Everything is back together. I ended up taking this back off, the bumper back off. It kept, two reasons. I could not get that bottom piece attached, and then it kept dripping washer fluid. And so I took it apart, actually took this tire off so I could access, and there was one of the lines, the main line coming from the reservoir that goes into these, which I've never think I've used. There's some washer fluid for your headlights in there. Anyway, there's the main line for that was dripping, and so I could not access it without. So it served two purposes, but I got it all back together. Like I said, 99.9% finished. Here's all that is left. I don't know that I'll be able to do it, but the door needs to be adjusted. It's a little bit off. You can kind of see at the top it needs to be adjusted on the hinges, and my back just hurts, so I don't have the strength to do that. And so I've got a friend that has a body shop that I may see if he has somebody that can do that for me for not too expensive. And then I need to pull these pieces of chrome trim off and replace it with the black trim that's on the original that matches all the rest. Those two things, and then the same way with the hood. I think I can probably do the hood myself, but it's a little bit off. It shuts just fine. I had to rewire that right up in there to go to the washer. Anyway, it's a little tight on that seam, right on that headlight. Not much, but you can really see right here that it's just a little bit off. And so I think once I adjust this hinge right here, maybe not even the hinge, just the way it's connected, and I can drop that down and pull everything over just a hair, that will all line up correctly. But that's it. Here and in the bucket and a lot of other parts. It kind of rolled up here, hit the side rear mirror, which I guess rotated in, and hit the I'll try and superimpose, or maybe go between the way it looked right after the cow and to today. Crazy. All right, well, this is the finished product. Got the trim done, got the doors adjusted, and took it out, quiet, and still a few pieces of glass that keep showing up, but that is it. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Hopefully there'll be some more content coming soon, and watch out for cows.